Janavi Fugi, Ms. Shweta Punj, Deputy Editor, India Today magazine, our distinguished presidium, viewers from Flow 17 chapter, and guest viewers from across the country on our webinar, India's Path to Sustained Growth Against Chinese Market, Role of Women Entrepreneurs for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Indian imports from China are massive, ranging from 4.8 billion rupees to 5.8 billion rupees every month. Against this backdrop, it's a mammoth task under our Atmanirbhar Bharat project to change the mindset of the people involved, especially since it's difficult to compete with the Chinese pricing. So we need to leapfrog and meet this challenge and nullify this Chinese threat by restructuring our Indian financial architecture. Who better than our chief guest to guide us with his non-parallel expertise in this subject? It's my privilege to introduce our distinguished chief guest for this session, who does not need the magic wand to correct the system, as he already carries all that magical power within him, and he is none than our Honorable Mr. Subramanian Swamy. He fought the emergency imposed by Srimati Indira Gandhi in 1975 and entered parliament undetected in spite of an arrest warrant in August 1976 and escaped again abroad to oppose the emergency. This is his sixth term as a member of parliament, three times for Lok Sabha and three times for Rajya Sabha, twice MP from Mumbai in Maharashtra and once in Madurai from Madurai in Tamil Nadu. He has been Union Cabinet Minister for Commerce, Law and Justice. He got the Kailash Mansarovar Hindu pilgrim route open for Hindu pilgrim and was a part of the first batch to go there. He got a stay from Supreme Court against the demolition of Ram Setu. He has begun in the forefront. He has been in the forefront on the legal case for the Ram Ayodhya construction and in Ayodhya by legal means. He was instrumental in the exposure of the 2G corruption involving Rajya, Chidambaram, and others. He exposed the National Herald newspaper scam involving Sonia Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, and other Congress leaders, and then filed criminal cases against them. And they had to take bail and are facing criminal trial. Prevented Sonia Gandhi from becoming Prime Minister in 2004. He is an economist and not a lawyer, but successfully fought numerous PILs and corruption cases in various courts of India. He had filed a case in Supreme Court against the EVM records used in elections earlier, and the Election Commission was directed by the Supreme Court to implement Mr. Swamy's suggestion to give paper printout, which can be stored and counted in case of dispute in EVM records. He advocated disbanding of Soviet Union-based economic policies and implementing market-based liberalized economic reforms in the country. He got the pending Ram Mandir court case expedited in the Supreme Court, which led to the recent verdict by the Supreme Court. He is very popular amongst the youth and people for his clear-cut views and solutions to the nation problem and has a huge following on the social media. His personality is sanitizing the place with his dignified and even enduring property. As his followers call him Chanakya for today's Kaliyug. Let me introduce our eminent personality, our moderator for today's session, who is a unique mix of acumen, perceptive brilliance, and sensitive understanding of human reactions in today's cutthroat society. Shweta, Deputy Editor, India Today magazine. He authored When I Fail, a bestseller, translated into 5 languages. The book chronicled the failure stories of some towering personalities and achievers in India. The aim of the book was to begin a conversation around failure. She is a young global leader with the World Economic Forum. Shweta brings with her over 2 decades of journalism experience in Hindi, in India, and the United States. She is also the founder of YPOL, a foundation that has worked towards making governance more transparent. YPOL built and launched the first women's safety mobile application in India and worked with the UN on Millennium Development Goals. Let me introduce a very versatile and innovative person with innumerable ideas working for the welfare of the lesser blessed. Yet she carries a serene, calm demeanor that belies the truly dynamic potential of her personality. National President of Flow, Ms. Chanvi Fukan, Director, JTI Group. Chanvi Fukan is the 37th National President of Flow, the women's wing of FICCI. As President of Flow, Chanvi focuses on sustainable livelihood for women, economic empowerment. Chanvi is an entrepreneur, a co-founder of two National Tourism Award-winning companies, Jungle Travels India and Assam Bengal Navigation Company, under JTI Group. Her companies comprehensively include travel and hospitality, boutique river cruising, small group specialized tours, tea, and textiles, all of which empower young people's livelihoods, especially women and their communities. And now I would request our President, Ms. Chanvi Fukan, to kindly take over and welcome our distinguished guest, Shri Subramanian Swamiji, followed by a short video on his journey and a virtual meeting. Over to you, Janvi.
Thank you. Namaste, Dr. Swamy.
Hey.
A very warm welcome to our very special guest today. Parliamentarian, two-time Union Minister, Dr. Subramanian Swamy is also a teacher, an economist, mathematician, a born rebel, a crusader, an emergency multilingual, and a dog lover. Dr. Swamy, it is my privilege to welcome you on behalf of Flow and the 17th chapter that I represent as the 37th National President and the first from India's Northeast. I mention Northeast because Dr. Swamy, I feel very proud that you have recently in your Atmanirbhar Bharat webinar hailed the Northeast as a region of India with tremendous potential.
Yes.
You have also been an admirer of Assam's Ahom dynasty, whom you have highlighted as the great pride of India, for their resistance of the Mughals 17 times in a span of 60 years, and that the Northeast region was never subjugated to the Mughal Empire.
That's right.
You have also been very supportive of Northeast people and have been very vocal about the anti-Chinese campaign, which led to attacks in DU on students from the Northeast.
That's right.
I understand you had learned Chinese and Mandarin in just 3 months. When someone challenged you to learn this language, tough language, within a year, you learned it in 3 months. I believe you personally also dealt with China since 1977 on a number of occasions, and you've achieved what was then thought quite difficult by most of your political colleagues. Notable among them was the 1981 reopening to Hindu pilgrims, the Kailash Mansarovar route, which most people thought was impossible for a Chinese nation to agree to, and that too on a religious matter. Anti-Chinese sentiment is on the rise in India, especially since the border clash now between these two nuclear-armed neighbors. And under the shadow of this ongoing crisis in Ladakh and the worsening India-China relations, Northeast India is also under constant highlight in terms of the Chinese intervention. Especially in question is the role of Beijing's support for Northeasters, rebels. And this worry has been reawakened. We can see that Beijing has started supporting the Alpha-led and other India-centric rebels, which has been an irritant in our bilateral relations in the recent years. So this is a constant issue with us people from the Northeast. But in your words, you have said that the people of India are always in doubt whether China can be a dependable friend or a diabolical enemy. And forming opinions requires a rational understanding of our past historical events and the lessons to be learned on our past. And therefore we need to move on. That is to quote in your words. So what is the alternative to China? And what can India's path be to sustain growth against the Chinese market? And in this process, what role can women entrepreneurs play for an Atmanirbhar Bharat? We at Flow have been 37 years in existence, and we work towards furthering the cause of women entrepreneurs and businesswomen and professionals. And we work towards this at various levels. on the grassroots, in the middle level, and in the corporate sector. So that is why your opinion on this is of great interest to us. I want to also thank Shweta Punj, Senior Editor, India Today, to have come in, who will moderate the session. Like I had told Dr. Swamy, we needed a very senior person to handle the gamut of subjects that will come up with interacting with you. I would also like to thank Renuka Tandon, Flow Governing Body member, for having arranged this interaction with you today on behalf of all of us at Flow. So Dr. Swamy, we have a small introductory video we put together for you and a memento as a token of appreciation. And I will request IT to please play it on the screen for us. That is a small token, and we hope we will be able to send the physical form to you in due course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Renuka, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Renuka.
Thank you, Jahnavi. And I would request our esteemed chief guest, Mr. Subramanian Swamy, to give his keynote address.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let me first refer to the title you have given me to speak on, India's path to sustained growth against Chinese market. Now, I would like to say, as your chairman just now, president just now said, that there has been a concern that the Chinese were exporting to us the finished goods and buying from us the raw materials. And this was a very unfortunate part and shall I say, monitored part of our trade relations with China. And that was not the original intentions. When I was Commerce Minister in 1991, I was told that the Chinese have been refusing to sign a trade protocol with India. And in view of my friendship with them, could I persuade them to sign it? So I had gone to Beijing in February of 1991. And on the 8th of February, I signed in Beijing for the first time, a trade protocol which began the trade between India and China. But very soon the export was taken over by private parties in India. And most of them were, I'm sorry to say, racketeers. Either they were exporting tobacco or they were exporting the most superb iron ore that is produced in the world, that is the Kudremukh mountain in Karnataka, which gives the best iron ore for producing steel. And we're selling it at dirt cheap prices to the Chinese, and the Chinese were very clear that they wanted their industrialization. And therefore, whatever India's raw materials were available, they were piling it in, they were giving heavy bribes, And we allowed this to go on. And over the period, the Chinese began exporting these finished products like cell phones and machines and television sets, all these things they began exporting. Now, the Chinese economic model is a model which is now finished. It cannot be now replicated. The Chinese have to now find a new economic model, and that's one of the reasons why they are thinking of these extraordinary steps to divert the attention of the people. And that model was this, that after the United States recognized China and then decided to deal with China, help China, provide the American markets, the European markets to China, the Chinese very skillfully proposed that East Asia, which was like Japan, Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines, these were which were exporting goods to China, to the United States, now found their labor getting expensive. So they suggested very skillfully, let these countries produce products in semi-finalized way. And then where the labor costs are high, we will do it by value adding to the product. So take, for instance, a laptop. The Taiwanese produce the circuits, they produce the base, and then they would send it to China. China would then, one of these free trade areas, would put the keyboard, put the screen, and put the cover, and then stamp on it, Lenovo made in China. Actually, it is made in Taiwan, but it's nowhere stated that. And everything China was making was nothing but East Asian semi-processed goods, which came to China, and then the labor utilizing parts like the finishing touches, the value addition, the Chinese did, and exported to Europe and America at high prices, but lower than what was being charged before. So if you look at the Chinese trade data, you'll find a big deficit with East Asian countries, but a much bigger surplus with Western countries. And that's how China was making progress. Now what's happened, Chinese labor also have become expensive. Now because of the new situation, China is having problems with these countries. And therefore the Chinese economic miracle is over. And whether India can replicate that, what China did, it will depend on how we restructure the economy. And in my opinion, India can grow at 10% per year and must grow at 10% per year. From 1950 to 1990, that's 40 years we followed socialist economic planning, and we could not grow at faster rate than 4% per year. Then Chandrasekhar's government was briefly there, but in that time I produced all the blueprints. When Narasimha Rao's government came for 5 years, he insisted I join his government, but since I said I can't join Congress party because you are only a tenant in that party, the owners are the Nehru family, they can kick you out anytime. So I will not join Congress. So he then gave me a commission dealing with WTO and commerce and so on, and made me cabinet rank so that I could attend his cabinet meetings. And then he and Manmohan Singh was finance minister, and the Montek Singh was the finance secretary. These were both with me. So, broadly speaking, what happened is that we created this reform and it grew to 7%. Now, I would say, to cut the matter short, I'll say this, that India can grow today at 10% per year. What is it needed? What is needed? Our rate of investment should be 36% of GDP. What is it today? 29%. Can we be 36%? Easily. We have already gone up to 37%. But we were so inefficient in the use of our capital that 37% was not giving us more than 7% or 8% growth rate. Now with the efficiency, if we have 36%, we can easily grow 10%, 11%, 12%. If you grow 10 years at 10% per year, India will become a developed country. And that's all that is needed. We have the potential, we have the huge capacity. I'm glad that the Prime Minister now has brought these agricultural reforms, because agriculture is completely underutilized. We have the cheapest prices for products in the world, but we have no productivity in that. We produce the best milk in the world today, called A2 of cows, which is supposed to be the most medicinal value point of view, the best, and is sold at huge prices in American supermarkets. But we are not able to utilize our 160 million cows for that purpose. So therefore, if you were to say how to deal with China, grow faster than China. Can you grow? Of course we can grow. Now especially we can grow. And if this COVID thing is over and we get some decent economic policy, I'm sorry to say, neither the finance ministry nor anybody knows economics. And they make a fool of themselves in the last 6 years. I have to say it bluntly, because people ask me, you are an economist, why are we doing so poorly? I can't say that we are doing poorly because God is against us. I have to say the truth, which is we don't know how to plan. And we say we have been doing this during Jet Li's time, we are doing this during Nirmala Sitharaman's time. I don't know when the Prime Minister will decide to have somebody who knows the subject as finance minister. I know that he will not have me, because I am also a politician, and no politician likes another politician who might overtake him after doing something good in the ministry. So this is it's a political phenomenon all over the world. So don't blame Narendra Modi especially for this. So I would say that the ideas are there. I put it in my book called Reset. India can grow at 10% per year for 10 years. Then we will become a developed country. Our poverty will be minimized. And if we allocate the investments properly, for instance, MSMEs, they are the biggest producers of employment in our country, particularly for semi-skilled. But they are being crushed. How are they being crushed? They're being crushed by high interest rates. Who brought these interest rates? The man who was most celebrated by high society, called Raghuram Rajan. A man is an absolute, in my opinion, most unfit for India. He came from the finance side and he became Reserve Bank governor. He kept raising the interest rate. And I protested. I said, you can't raise the interest rates. You're raising the cost of capital. He said, no, but I'm controlling inflation. I said, what do you mean by controlling inflation? You can bring the temperature down by killing a patient, but that doesn't mean they have cured the patient. You still have brought the temperature down without curing it. Same way, by raising interest rates, you may control inflation, but you are wrecking the production schedules of all countries because the cost of capital goes up. So we need now interest rates to come down drastically. It's still too high. You must not have it more than 9% thing. In America, you can take a loan from a bank for 2%. And here, you have to take it at 15% and 16%, given all the corruption that is taking place. Similarly, you must encourage people to save, which means the fixed deposit rates must be 9%, not 6% as today. So all these solutions are available. So let me say that India can grow very fast. India can overtake China. India has the potential. There's nothing lacking in it. And our people are performing very well all over the world, except in India. The question is why? Because where there is an opportunity, our people can do. We can innovate. We have brainy people. They are now heading major corporations in America which deal with research and development. And so I don't see any reason except that we are following bad policies. And these policies are corrected as we corrected Jawaharlal Nehru's, and Narasimha Rao brought in a change. Same way, I think these last 20 years, including the UPA, the policies that have been pursued have been anti-growth, and including the 6 years of our government. And we can change it. And if we change it, you can create an economic prosperity. Now, the last point which I'll deal with is about the women empowerment. Why you need women empowerment to be stated? Our whole religion is based on women. You go to the heavens and see Brahma when he created a cabinet. Who did he put as the key ministers? Defense went to Durga. She is responsible. And when men fail, she becomes Kali and she finishes off everybody. The men have to go and fall at her feet. Shiva, in fact, fell at the feet of Durga to say, please save us. Then finance is with Lakshmi and education with Saraswati. Which other portfolios are more important than these three? One woman said, I will not, brand my hair till I get the blood of one of the people in the kingdom. That is Mahabharat. Draupadi was humiliated, and she swore that she will not rest till there's a war and all these people are killed. That's why Mahabharat war took place. Sita was a person who refused to come with Hanuman. When Hanuman went to her and said, sit on my back, I'll take you back. She said, no, Ram has to come here because Ravan has, abused so many women and they all have to be liberated. So Ram must come here and kill him. So the women's resolve in our is legend. We have had Rani Jhansi, we have Rani Chennamma in Karnataka. Anyway, which area of women when they have been decided to come in have not performed superior to men. What about the ISRO? Go and see the ISRO. They are all very traditional women there, but they are producing the best, cheapest rockets in the world. So I think, therefore, this women empowerment assumes that the women are somehow have to be lifted like handicapped children or something. Not at all. Women have the potential.
4:31.
And you will go forward. So this is what I want to say.
Yeah.
The brief time I have. Now I'm ready to take questions.
Yeah. So,
So,
Swamy, what you said, shared today will really make a difference. And your outlook was pertinent to today's time. Now I would request Ms. Shweta Point, Deputy Editor, India Today magazine, our moderator for the event, to kindly take center stage and guide the session forward. Over to you, Shweta.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and a very good evening to everyone. A very good evening to you, sir. Delighted to be, be given this opportunity to talk to you, because believe me, if there's one thing that, we look forward to as journalists, it is what Dr. Swamy has to say on a particular issue. So when I was, thinking of preparing for this conversation, I was like, what can I not ask Dr. Swamy? Because really, I mean, it's not only for journalists, it's for people at large. Last night, I was talking to a CEO of a company, and I just mentioned it in conversation that I will be moderating a conversation with you, and he was actually just very curious and intrigued. He said, you must share the live link with me. I'll be watching it. Dr. Swamy knows exactly what's going on in this country. So you've emerged as this, flag bearer of throwing some light on a lot of issues that I think a lot of people are very cagey to take up. So so it's an honor to be talking to you, sir. I know you've spoken on the economy, but I just want to get a sense from you on the last, say, 6.5 years of this government, right? Like when the Modi government was voted into power, the economy, in terms of numbers, was not so bad. There was corruption, yes. There were bad loans, yes. But the economy still seemed to be in a better place. But in the last 5 years, we've seemingly made all the right noises in terms of reforms, whether it's clearing up the bad loans on banks' balance sheets. We're talking about reforming labor. But where have we gone wrong, sir? And how are you assessing the response of this government towards containing the economic and the health emergencies caused by COVID-19?
See, first of all, I would say a small part of the blame rests with the press, because you are stop being critical, and you're afraid of perhaps being stamped as belonging to this camp or that camp. But the amount of praise, I remember in 2015, I wrote an op-ed for the Hindu newspaper, which was the only paper that time ready to publish, that we are now headed on a tailspin. And we will decline and perhaps crash. The tailspin always ends up in a crash. So that time I was condemned by my own party men and saying that, you know, you're speaking against the party and so on. But that's exactly what has happened. This corona is not responsible for the decline in the economy. Maybe it has accelerated the decline, but it is not responsible. If you see the 25-26 financial year, 26-2017 financial year, this is all there in my book, Reset book. I've taken government records and shown it. It has been a one-way decline. And most of the reasons are due to economic policies followed by the government. What is this demonetization? You did demonetization without having printed the notes, sufficient number of notes to fill in, to give the banks so that, don't have long queues. And there is a way of doing it. I was asked once by Sri Ravi Shankar that the Prime Minister wants to know from me, what else could he have done? I told him what he should have done is, he should have announced that I am declaring all notes of this 500 or 1,000, whatever it is, as no more as a legal tender, and all that you have in 500 rupee notes and 1,000 rupee notes, come and deposit it in your own bank account, no questions asked, and the bank will then take out 15% of it and give it to the government as their tax. You can withdraw about 30% of it in new notes, and the remaining we will keep for you in fixed deposit at a rate of 9%, at the rate of 2% per year, because this money is unaccounted mostly, and you can take it after 5 years. I said there will be no queues, there will be nothing. And what I sent this proposal through Sri Ravi Shankar to the Prime Minister, who sent it to Mr. Jaitley. Jaitley said, why 15% only? Government should take 50%. And then only we can do it. Now they brought it in and said 50%. Nobody came. Why? Because the bank clerks were coming and depositing new notes in your house for old notes for just 20%. So why should somebody give it, especially when there is no way of finding out? So the bank clerk himself is doing it, and they all made money during this time. And in the end, what happened? The economy got a big hit. Then this GST. GST, as Chief Minister of Gujarat, Modi had written a stiff letter to the government that I will never allow this to be implemented because we don't have the kind of bureaucratic infrastructure to implement it. What is the GST about? That all the, right now what happens is when something is produced in Maharashtra, as soon as it comes out, they put a tax, sales tax or excise tax. Then it goes to Madhya Pradesh, sold there, they put a sales tax there. So they said one tax at one place. And this was not our proposal. This was Mr. Chidambaram's cockeyed proposal, which his friend Mr. Jaitley implemented. And that was the same thing, that you collected all the indirect taxes. Previously, you could not collect indirect taxes, the states collected. Now the center collects the income, sales tax, also indirect taxes, puts it in the HDFC bank, ICICI bank, and then says we will distribute to the states which have been denied their revenue. But you don't have an economic, we don't have a software program for it because you gave it to Infosys and it was too small to think into such a large amount. 7 lakh crores were being collected every year, putting into these banks, and these banks were having a gala time, these private banks, and they were lending out for 15 days and 20 days. So I told the Prime Minister, why are you giving to private banks? You must give it to this public sector banks. After 1 year, the Prime Minister agreed. By then, the whole damage has been done. Even today, the government is not able to pay the dues of the states, 2 lakh crores are today pending as unpaid by the government. And the whole thing has brought all this paperwork. Somebody came to me to see me from Barmer. He said they are asking me to upload a form. He said, "ये upload क्या होता है? मुझे कुछ पता नहीं है. मैं तो दस्तखत कर सकता हूँ और कुछ नहीं कर सकता हूँ. ये इतना बड़ा लंबा चौड़ा फॉर्म
So,
मुझे
Dr. Swamy, this is your government. You're a member of parliament from the BJP. So why is it that, you're making...
Churchill was a member of the Conservative Party. And he kept saying, "You're being soft on Hitler. You're being soft on Hitler." People used to tell him that you are a member of this, your party is the member of this government. The party must have some say over the government. I don't think it has. I don't think even party organizations meet. When are we asked for an opinion? So therefore, this is an Indian tradition. This is not that this happened from Jawaharlal Nehru's time. The only time when there was this give and take was during when the early period was Janata period when Morarji Desai was Prime Minister. After that, no government, party MPs have anything except to come and vote and go back and make a speech, which nobody listens. So in all over the world, people outside the government but in the party on objective matters should be encouraged to speak out, because the bureaucrats are too scared to speak out to, unless they lose their promotions. And the ministers are too scared to speak. If you have a dominant prime minister, you may lose your ministership and you won't know the reason, and you'll be in the boondocks. So therefore, I think today's climate is just like what it was before, that people are not really willing to give suggestions. I only say if any of my suggestions are wrong, please send your best economic advisor and ask him to debate with me. People are too scared to debate with me. And so therefore, and of course, nobody in the opposition wants to debate with me because they're delighted with my criticism. So I'm saying...
You are the one, actually, you're the one who's playing the role of an opposition right now, because there is no opposition at the moment.
Well said, well said, well said. But I'm doing what Churchill did in World War II and was proved right. And I've been proved right now.
Dr. Swamy, I want to take that thought of yours that you said everyone's too scared to speak out. It's not only in the government or in the ministries. There's this growing sense that if you are against the government no matter wherever you might be in JNU, you might be in Bollywood. This is the perception that the government will go after you in one way or the other, whether it's sending summons to a Deepika Padukone for allegations which are based on chats over WhatsApp, right? So there is this overarching narrative, and it's very disconcerting because it just makes us look so bad to the world that India. We're known as a country for free speech, democracy.
But I faced this when Sonia Gandhi was in power too, and when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was also in power. So, I mean, we are still in a developing state as far as respecting dissent and honoring opposing opinion and so on. And you don't have to tell me every day. My daughter comes to drop in to have tea. She's the editor of diplomatic editor, now called national editor of the Hindu newspaper, Suhasini Haidar. She gives me a mouthful. Now you're giving me. So I'm only saying, be like me. Have the guts to say what you have to say in the newspaper. If they'll close it down, let them close it down. You will live in history as a great newspaper. I'm sure that you will come back like we all came back after the emergency. So I am wondering why these newspaper people are buckling so much. I know they are buckling. And I know that recently my own party's IT cell used fake IDs to slander me. I went public on it, and ultimately a corrective took place. So you must, once this kind of rebellious attitude comes, I think people correct themselves. But in the fact there's no rebellion and people are wondering what is the next job they'll get, then of course these problems arise. So it's a chicken and egg question, what you have raised. And my only advice is that I am only living what I am preaching. and others also should do the same thing. Not if not everybody, at least some, and the others should support them. And I find that in this country, if somebody stands up and takes a hit, very few people stand up for him. Then, of course, these kind of things are bound to increase, not decrease.
So I have to ask you about, what's happening at the borders. Even though our mainstream media seems to be very obsessed with what's happening in Bollywood and Bombay,
Yes.
I really want to get a sense from you on where are we in our standoff with China? How much have we, lost out on? What are the opportunities for us, and your assessment on how the situation has been handled so far?
Well, first, let me tell you, there is something called line of actual control.
Yeah.
This was decided by Narasimha Rao's government after my visit to Deng Xiaoping, when he said, I'm ready to discuss and settle the border. Because I raised the issue. And I also raised the issue of allowing us to go to Kailash Mansarovar, which everybody told me can't be done because they are communists. They will never allow this kind of thing to happen. Mm-hmm. So therefore, the Chinese have now begun to feel that in their larger interests, such things as the border roads, trade agreement, etc., they need to strengthen their position vis-a-vis the Karakoram Pass, because the road will pass through that area. And the Galwan and some Drepusung areas, they are very close to it. Then our government, that is the BJP government, had built a number of good roads, which made it possible to reduce 11 days travel to probably half a day travel. 6-lane highways and so on. I think the credit goes really to Gadkari and the border roads thing, but it has happened quietly. So now the Chinese have, over the period when Modi and Xi Jinping were meeting and having a gala time, they were creeping. And I can tell you, and I have no hesitation telling you on this medium, that they have occupied about 1,000 square kilometers of India beyond the line of actual control. And that's why I object to very strongly in Twitter when they say we have agreed to disengage. It's a question not of disengagement. It's a question of their going back beyond the mutually agreed line of actual control.
Absolutely.
Aksai Chin is in their possession, but we say it's a disputed area because we say you have encroached and we have given a lot of proof, but then we agreed to negotiate it. But as far as this part is Ladakh is concerned, there's been no dispute at all. And suddenly they have come across it. And we can defeat them. We have in small battles since 1962 defeated them quite severely. They have suffered very severely. One was in 1967 in Nathula Pass in Sikkim. Then Samdurong valley in Arunachal. We gave them a real thrashing in 1987. And they have never intervened in our fight with Pakistan, or whether it was 1965 or whether it's 71 or whether it is the one in 1999. So these three fights, they have not intervened because they do feel that it's not going to be that easy. But they think by creeping, they can achieve this purpose. And this creeping, you see, is what we realize at a late stage. And this late stage, to reverse it around, we have to do many things. First of all, we'll get a better opportunity in November when the snow comes, and that will protect Arunachal completely. And even the last time, the Chinese on the first week of November pulled back, even though they came nearly to Tezpur in 1962, but they pulled back because they knew they couldn't sustain it. China has a disadvantage. They have a long supply line, which comes through Tibet, which is not a very friendly territory. And we have a very short supply route. So we have an advantage. If the war lasts only between India and China, we can defeat them once we are a little better prepared and a little more clarity in how we want to go about it. At the moment, the Chinese are sitting on parts of our country, and instead of asking them to get out, we are saying, okay, let's disengage. You go a little back here, you go a little back there. Now they are saying you can't even come to Pangong Lake. The latest demand is that. So expect a war, because the Chinese think it's now or never. Because Corona has put us debilitated so much, they think this is the best time to do it. And so our soldiers are far superior to the Chinese in terms of motivation. For the Chinese soldiers, the Han people come from a long distance, and their motivation is much less than ours. So if there is a true battle and the United States is not miserly in providing us the weapons we need, we'll give the Chinese a terrific beating of their life, which they'll never forget forever.
But sir, considering the state of the economy right now, is war the right way to move forward? Because, and does it, like, will we get international support? You said America, it's contingent. You don't even know whether Trump is going to come back. So, and
I'm making a prediction: Trump will come back.
You think so? Trump will come back.
I think so. I had said I would do it at the end of September, but now it's only a few days to the end of September. So I said on Twitter that I'll say, but I'm saying to you in advance that Trump will come back. Of course, we can all be wrong, but I was right last time also when everybody thought Hillary is coming back in this. My entire party from top to bottom thought Hillary is coming. But I was sure that Trump is coming because he attracts the raw American, as I call them. I've lived in America for many, many years, so I know the American inside out. There is what the Americans call as rednecks, but they are really people, blue-collar workers and so on. They are totally fired up by him. So, and they'll come out and vote, and I'm sure there'll be no difficulty. But the thing is that all these ifs are always there in every war. The same thing was told to Roosevelt when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, that our economy is still not recovered from the Great Depression. So he said, well, this war is going to revive it. And that's exactly what happened. So just because our economy is not okay and, the temperature is not okay, no. If a war has to be done, go for it. Of course, you must have some minimal preparation, not tennis shoes and badminton rackets as Jawaharlal Nehru's army had. But we have enough to fight. And today, there is a desire of the Americans that the Chinese must be defeated somewhere. And if there's anybody who can defeat them, it is us, because the Americans are too tired to send troops to fight China. They are too tired to be even in Afghanistan. So therefore, I would say that you will get support and you have to bank on that and go ahead.
So could a war revive the Indian economy as well? Are you making that?
It will.
Yeah.
Because India is a land of excess capacity. Our economic problem is demand. This doesn't go through our finance minister's head, I'm sorry to say. You cannot, all you have to do is abolish income tax. You'll see demand will grow. All you have to do is print notes and say build roads and put the money in the hands of the workers who are building the roads. They'll go to the shops and buy. Demand will rise. The problem today is only one thing in the Indian economy, demand. And that demand needs orthodox methods.
Okay, I have to now, come to the case that has the whole nation riveted, at least the nation that we know of, not so much Bharat I'm talking about. I'm talking about Delhi, Bombay, right? You made a claim on Twitter that Sushant Singh Rajput was murdered.
Yeah.
And you've been saying this. I just want to know, what is the basis for this? And also, the entire drama around, sending summons to Deepika Padukone, arresting Riya Chakrabarti, is there a bigger conspiracy behind that? Are we not scratching the surface? Drugs is just maybe a distraction, and there's a bigger murky area that's, something that we are not talking about, or we're not seeing at the moment.
We need to, first of all, before I answer your question, let me just make a side point. We need to tabulate and document all the murders that have taken place of actors and actresses for the last 20 years. And why? And invariably, see, I'm very familiar with Bombay. My in-laws were resident in Bombay. I was twice elected from Bombay, and I've very close connections with Bombay. And we used to hear that there is a cartel, and that cartel is slowly now being taken over by the Dubai people, popularly called the Dawood's people, but Dawood is a very old and sick man just now, but his team. And the money laundering they are experts, all politicians, businessmen, and all who are doing money laundering and sending money abroad to foreign banks of their cash that they have is done through Dubai. To a lesser extent Singapore, but Dubai. So Dubai has enormous influence over our politicians and cinema stars who operate a large amount of their business on cash, which the people are able to provide. And as a consequence, they developed a cartel which said, those who comply with us will rise in the profession. And those who don't will die. And Sushant was a classic case of that. He was not somebody who failed in his exams and therefore had no other place to go except go to Bollywood and get a job. And he performed very well, very fast, and he became a national hero for the youth. I mean, I don't know anything much about cinema, so I did not heard of him also. But when this matter came to my notice, I did my own checking. I have by all. It's almost unanimously agreed I have the best information system because all my court cases are highly based on facts. So people say, where do you get all these facts? So I say, I pray to God, and in the morning when I go and open my door to pick up the newspaper, there's always a packet lying which has all the information, which was under the fan. And the fan was not 6 feet, it was less than 6 feet and 6 feet and 2 inches. So all these factors, then you take him to the autopsy, and the autopsy waits 5 hours before they perform the autopsy. And everybody knows, and in fact, the AIIMS has even made a public statement on it, that if you have a body lying more than 5 minutes, then anything poison or whatever in your stomach just then disperses and goes into the stream. Now, there was no way to do for the AIIMS the autopsy because the body had been cremated. In record speed, it was cremated. And what was announced is where they will be cremated and where he was actually cremated. That also is there. Then the Bombay police declares within minutes of that door opening that this is suicide. Then why didn't you register some kind of an FIR of a possible crime? Or seal the flat so that nobody goes in and cleans it up. And you go on and on and on, you find that the last meeting he had, and there was his agent, Disha, she had gone to a party where there were ministers' sons, not one but two. And then suddenly she dies by falling from the roof. And the body autopsy says that she had injuries before falling and after falling also. What were those injuries before falling? So then there is a record of which has not made public of her telephone call before her death to Sushant. And there are witnesses who say Sushant said that now they are going to kill me also. So there are enough circumstantial evidence And I had done with the Sunanda case, which was also called a suicide. And that was much more high-powered than this.
That's true.
And there was a minister, and the entire government that time sided with Mr. Tharoor. And I ultimately proved that at the very minimum, it was assisted suicide. She was faked into swallowing something which she shouldn't have swallowed. And now the Delhi police is saying on the new evidence, it is murder. So now we have a situation. So answer to your question is, based on my past experience, I would say this is nothing but a murder. And what is going to come out is that the AIMS cannot say anything because they don't have the body, but they can say whether murder can be ruled out. And in my opinion, they will say the murder is not ruled out, but the CBI then can find out circumstantial evidence, as in the Sheen Bora case. They entirely on circumstantial evidence, they were able to convict those who perpetrated the crime.
So how about Aditya Thackeray? Do you think, I have to ask you this,
Sure.
because what I'm getting is that, his father, Uddhav Thackeray, had no idea about this, and it's only the NCP chief, Mr. Sharad Pawar, who flagged it off and said that, your son might be part of this, and that's probably the reason why there's been a huge...
No, he was participating in all this fun and games in Bollywood. That's true. And if he's involved in the murder in some way, well, he should be examined. There's a question about it. Nobody can escape. Questioning doesn't mean they are being held guilty. It only means that we are subjecting you in a certain circumstance so that you'll tell the truth and not some lie. But I can also say that why everybody is concentrating on Aditya Thackeray when there was another minister's son.
Yeah, I was going to ask, who was the other minister's son?
I will not tell you. Not yet anyway. Maybe I'll remember to tell you first before I tell others. But the fact is that there was another minister's son who is actually, Aditya Thackeray is a fool, that with all this advanced ages, all his education and his high position at such a young age, he shouldn't have been fooling around with actresses in Bollywood. But the other one is a thug, and he's just the type who, murder would have meant nothing for him. So one day his name should also come, but it's not my duty to tell the police or the CBI to do its duty. I just got the CBI inquiry done, which when everybody was opposing it. And then I think they should come out with a report, then I can give an opinion. But it is a cartel planned murder. And this cartel planned murder was that this guy was getting too independent, and he was also rising in public esteem, and they felt threatened and therefore killed him.
So the cartel which goes around selling drugs, or is it the cartel? What does this cartel?
They do everything. They send actresses to politicians. They do drugs. They kill people. It's like a regular cartel, and they are prominent actors in it.
So, okay, my last question, because I know I'm running out of time. So this entire thing about, the NCP going on an overdrive with the drugs angle, marijuana, and, is that just like a side story to distract us from the...
It's not a side story, but it's a magnificent opportunity to clean up Bollywood of drugs. See, you won't get another opportunity like this. And therefore, I think it's a national duty to clean Bollywood of drugs. Drug is a terrible thing. It's planned by Pakistan, it's planned by ISI, it's planned by Dubai. And and it's very, very bad. It's spreading. Punjab is our fighting base. All our major fighters after Guru Gobind Singh, it has been the biggest defender of India. And today, I would say 30-40% of Punjab is on drugs. And it's all been freely given by Pakistan. And drugs are spreading in our universities, they are spreading in our film world. and very soon they may even spread in your journalist world. So therefore, anything which is a independent organization is being undermined by this. And I think there's a time when we must start cracking, and this is an opportunity given. We can't just simply go tomorrow to JNU and catch people on drugs, because then there'll be a big Allah. But we need an occasion, and here we got an occasion. They all have been in parties, and they have to be interrogated, and that you get this angle also.
Well, sir, I'm afraid I've run out of time, but I've really enjoyed this conversation and always so insightful to hear you speak. I'm glad that I could cover whatever I was hoping to ask. I don't know, I hope Renukaji, I've covered whatever.
Maybe you can do it again sometime.
I think Janvi is there for the last.
Not touch upon that, but I'll hand it over to Renukaji. It's back to you.
Yeah. So Janvi,
Yes. So thank you very much, Shweta, for moderating very interesting sessions with Dr. Swamy. There are so many questions that we still have for you, but if I take 2 minutes of your time, yes. I will also repeat a question that my past president is asking from South. She would like to know that US has not always been a steadfast ally.
Yes.
They do get discouraged when body bags arrive. For instance, from Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan. Yeah. So should we at all think of them as our steadfast ally, the US?
No, I don't want them as ally. I want them as a supplier of weapons. And we are ready to pay for it, as long as they give us the really good ones. Let me tell you one thing which most people don't know. Russia is not Soviet Union. It's a very small part of Soviet Union. And today, Russia is a stooge of China. Remember that. It is so short of money that the Chinese have been pumping money to them. They are not going to do anything for you unless the Chinese approve. And we have got this Russia is a friend, and our foreign minister very stupidly goes and has discussions with the Chinese in Russia. What will the Americans think? That you agreed to Russian mediation, but you are not agreeable to American mediation. That's why Trump has also changed his tune. He says, after I get elected, I'll bring China and India together and sit and work out some agreement.
Well, 1 second.
So a short answer to your question is,
yes.
I don't trust the Americans that they will send troops and help us. I don't want them. I just want them to give me their F-35 and F-28 and F-16, all those planes. Some of them are in warehouses lying, just collecting dust to give to us free. Give us your laser sensing weapons, so many things that they can give us. And defeating China is something that's good for America too. And the Americans understand that. And therefore, nothing but arms. I don't want American troops anywhere on the Indian side.
Okay.
A very valuable contribution that has truly enriched our thoughts on the issue today. Thank you, Shweta, for brilliantly navigating the session. May I now invite Janvi Phukan to present her concluding remark, followed by rendering the vote of thanks to all our prestigious guests, speakers, and participant viewers. Thank you. Over to you, Janvi.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Swamy, there were other questions, but I think if you are short of time, we'll have to let you go. But let me just say this, that it's said that once you become fearless, life becomes limitless. And you, Dr. Swamy, are a man bound with no fear and no limits. Your journey has been no less than gripping. And there is, I wish we had more men of your intellect in this country who will also, and your courage of conviction that we can all do with. And we look to always being able to talk to you and learn from you. And we hope that the pointers that you put out to our countrymen, it's all well noted. Everyone is noticing what you always say. And today, besides the other wide range that we've spoken on, it's never enough. But thanks for that roadmap that you pointed out. And thank you too for asserting what women are already empowered. It's just that, I don't know, we seem to need this validation. We should not be asking for it. But yes, we would like to be aggregators And as a business chamber of commerce and as women leaders, we do need to be aggregators in this process of building a new Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I do believe that we should have more women in the political space. And we hope that we are working towards that. India, would you agree, needs more women in the political space, despite all the discouraging, the deterrents to it. We should. If we want our own space, we have to claim it. There can be no excuses, I guess. So I would like to also thank Renuka Tandon, our floor governing body member, for getting this session together, and my thanks to my floor past presidents, the governing body members, and the entire floor fraternity, and to Dr. Swamy, once again, thank you very much. And to Shweta for moderating this for us. Thank you. No.
Thank you. I don't mind doing it again sometime in the future.
Yes, Doctor. Definitely would like that. Thank you.
May I ask a last question?
Yes,
Sure.
certainly, Namitaji, please, if Dr. Swamy would allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, I give.
Unmute
You
yourself.
have to mute yourself. Yeah,
Unmute yourself.
unmute.
I can't hear
Yeah.
what she said.
So, sir, I give a lot of importance to your views. So, my question is that when will India become a 5 trillion economy, and when will the farmers' income double?
If you grow at 10% per year, you will become in 10 years. But the Modi's statement that he will double it in 5 years, that's rubbish, because it means 14.4% per year growth rate. And obviously his finance ministry has misled him, and he has put himself in an awkward spot. I'm glad to see he's not repeating that anymore.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swamy.
Bye.
Goodbye.
What makes him tick, yeah? Wow.
Fantastic session. Fantastic.
You know,
Kiranji, hi.
he's amazing. I mean, bolte hain,
He's really courageous.
how does he
Fearless. Totally fearless.